said, that's nice. That's Nice from Neil Christian, played on vinyl. I don't even think it's available on CD, so you have to play it on vinyl. Now, I've come to Independent Pressing Company Limited. We're Industrial Estate in Nottingham, Little Tennis Street to be precise. And with me I have Chris King. Chris King is the managing director of this operation. The story starts at the Meadow Covert for me when Alan Tully came up to me and he said, John, I'm thinking of going into pressing vinyl records. What do you think? Now, we're not talking 1960 now. We're talking a couple of years ago, would it be?
5 years ago.
Is it 5 years ago?
5 years.
5 years ago. You know, he's thinking of investing in these pressing plants. And he said, is there a future in vinyl? So I sort of smiled, almost like a benevolent granddad, and said, I wish you luck, Alan. I'll tell you something, I wish I put some money in it. Vinyl is alive and well, isn't it, Chris?
It's never gone away. It's never going to go away. In fact, CD is on the decline, and obviously because of so many people downloading free off the computer on the internet and everything. And there's something about vinyl that you cannot replace at all with CD. It's a sound thing. And it's like when you was a kid, you collected records. Everybody bought records, you know. If you're 35, 40 years of age, you can remember going in the record shop on a Friday or a Saturday and picking your favourite records, and there'd be a little record shop here and there and everywhere. And there's not so many shops around anymore, but there's a lot of vinyl. The Virgins of this world and whatever, they're now putting vinyl positions back into the stores. A lot of people are trying to re-release classic albums, you know, Bob Dylan, the Beatles, and so on and so forth. Vinyl hasn't gone away, will not go away. You know, it may, get smaller, but we're looking at doing 4 million units this year.
4 million?
4 million units.
All coming out of this little
all coming out of
complex.
Nottingham.
Out of Nottingham, exactly, coming out of Nottingham. Now, you came up to Alan, didn't you? And you got hold of these pressing plants from where?
Yeah, well, when I was in KWS, we was all over the world on the strength of Please Don't Go and Rock Your Baby. And we went to Guatemala to do some shows. And the record company that we were signed to out there, they was obviously with us everywhere, taking us to radio stations and doing interviews, and said, come and look at the pressing plant where we press the records. So we went and looked at the pressing plant, and I was just staggered. I've always been in music since way back in 1970, 71, and I'd never seen a pressing plant. And the guy says, we're selling all this, and I went, how much do you want for it? And it was for nothing for what it was. In fact, it cost more to ship it from Guatemala to the UK than it did to actually buy. And I ended up with like 50 tons of equipment and didn't know how it worked or didn't have a clue. Got loads of books, and a lot of it was written in Spanish or whatever. And I knew Alan from spending what little money I did have with him buying cars off him.
Because Alan used to be in second-hand car
Alan used to be in the second-hand car. Right. Yeah, the only honest car dealer I've ever met. And I just off the cuff said to him, do you want to come into a pressing plant with me? And Alan actually was interested and came back to me a couple of days later, and the rest's history, basically.
I have to admit, in my heart I wanted it to work, but actually my head said you're barking.
We didn't intend on it being the way it was, because we've had to move from where we was originally, because the new building we're at is probably 4 times larger than the last one. And the last one was more than adequate for what we intended to do, 10 or 15,000 records a week, and just make a living out of it. And then it went crazy. I mean, we started with 6 or 7 staff, and we've now got over 30. And we work from 6 o'clock in the morning till 2 o'clock in the morning, 2 shifts. And Saturdays and Sundays when demand calls for it.
Right, well, I visited the old plant. It was on a hot day and it was really uncomfortable. Now, this thing got, I wouldn't say plush offices, but they're not. They're pretty posh, aren't
We've got a roof.
Go on, let's go in. I suppose, actually, we ought to hear, since you mentioned KWS, we ought to hear them, oughtn't we, really?
Why not? More royalties. Okay. This is Ian.
Hello, Ian. Pleased to meet you.
How you doing?
How's it doing?
He's head honcho in the press shop.
Right. You going to take me in there?
Yeah, certainly.
Okay.
That's good.
Well, just before we go, I was to say that was KWS and Please Don't Go, which was #1. How long ago was it now?
It's 12. Is it 12 years ago?
Really?
11 years ago, and it was #1 this week. I think this was the last week it was at #1.
And with Chris King as well, who was on that record, because responsible for it. So this is the best pressing plant.
This is the press shop. This is the packing room.
Right. My goodness. I've never seen so many, well, they look like LPs to me. I assume they're large singles, are they?
12-inch singles, yeah. This is where they're all packed. As soon as they've been made in the press shop, they get packed over here. All the girls are packing them. So, press shop over that way.
Right.
We've got 10 machines, all running at the moment. We're making at least 70,000 records a week. At the moment, we've got about 9 machines running and 1 spare machine.
How did you get involved in it?
Myself, I'm a DJ myself, and I just seen a job in the job centre, came and applied for it. I've been here for about 3.5 years now, so good fun.
So you got in those sacks. You got like they look like cement bags. What's in there?
That's actual vinyl granules. They actually go in the machine. They get melted down, and they go in between 2 stampers and get pressed, and that actually makes the record.
And where'd you get the stampers from?
The stampers are actually cut by Chris, and then we make the metalwork, and we actually make the metalwork as well.
You do it all then?
Yes, we do everything.
Take me somewhere else. We'll go somewhere a bit quieter so I can talk.
Yeah.
It sounds fine, but it's quite noisy in here. All these packing cases. There's all stuff going out now, is it?
Yeah, all the, like I say, all the ladies packing everything, then it'll go out into dispatch, and it will go out later on this afternoon.
Can I have a quick word with you?
Sorry?
I'm John Holmes from Radio Nottingham. Do you have a vinyl? Are you able to play records on your record player?
Yeah.
You still deal in vinyl then?
Well, I have got a lot of old ones, yeah. But I don't play them.
Yeah, but you could play some of these though, couldn't you? What's your name?
Jean,
Jean. How long have you worked here, Jean?
since October.
And what were you doing before this?
I worked at Speedo.
What did you? Of course, that's is that gone now, Speedo?
Sorry?
Speedo gone now?
It's closed down now, yeah.
So this is a new... Who would have thought you'd be packing vinyl records in 2003?
Yeah.
Nice to talk to you, Jean. Thank you. Hi. What are you doing then?
This is my daughter Nicki, actually.
Nicki, how are you?
University, and she's here when she's not at uni, and my wife works here as well.
What's it like having a famous dad?
I didn't realise my dad was famous.
Have you seen him on telly?
I have done, but I was very little at the time.
You must be proud of him.
Yeah, very proud.
What did you do at university? So what are your people at university think about vinyl?
I don't think people at university know anything about vinyl because we all buy CDs.
See? It's going to die out in the end. Traitor. Thanks for talking to me. Thank you. See, that's it. That's the point, isn't it? That's the point, Chris, because who is buying them? I mean,
Jonathan can probably help you more on that. Jonathan's very well known around Nottingham, worked in arcade records for many, many years, DJ'd at Rock City and managed Rock City for quite a while as well. Jonathan, who buys vinyl these days? We make it and we ship it out, but we don't get involved in the sales of it. So who actually buys it?
I think there's still a lot of DJs out there who always prefer to play vinyl in the first place. They prefer that way, way above using CDs. And I also think there's still a big collector's market out there for vinyl, not only from reissues but also from new releases. So record companies 3, 4, 5 years ago trying to stimulate the sales of CDs as opposed to still keeping with vinyl, have suddenly realised that that's not the case, and vinyl's still there, and I think is there to stay.
You are a DJ?
Yes, that's correct.
Do you always play vinyl?
Where possible. If it's something that's not been released, that's only on CD, then obviously I have to use that format, but I would prefer, as I think most DJs would say, they would prefer to use vinyl.
Is this because of all the clever mixing they do?
Not really, because the technology's there to do it on CDs now as well. You know, with the Pioneer 1000 CD players that are currently on the market that are around about £800, those CDJ 1000 CD players are literally just like a deck with the way they've constructed it. So all the tricks can be done on those, but still at the end of the day, a lot of DJs would prefer to use vinyl.
See, I don't quite understand it. But see, I go back to the days of DJing and vinyl.
Yeah.
I used to have fun.
78's actually, John, wasn't it?
I didn't used to set them up. I used to sling the needle in the groove. But nevertheless, on an LP, you've still got to select the track, whereas the CD, you just put track 5 in and it plays.
I think it's always been that thing where DJs who've started with vinyl, you can look down at a record, whether it be an album or a 12 or a 7, and you can tell how long you've got before that record finishes just at a glance.
Yeah.
And I think with a CD player, the CD's in the machine, you're reliant on that machine, and those machines sometimes can make CDs skip or just throw the CD back out, and you can't physically see
It's not
length
personal.
of time.
CDs are not personal. Yeah. I was DJing in Ibiza about 4 weeks ago. There was a soul week there, and they didn't have any decks, so we had to take CDs. And flicking through a little box of CDs with little small writing on the back of the CD with 30 or 40 tracks on, when I got my records in front of me, I can look at my box and I can sort a set out just by looking at my box, just by flicking through and looking at labels, not even titles, just labels. I know the titles. If I see the label, I know what record it is without even reading it. And I can work a set out from that. And I couldn't do that. For the first 2 nights, I struggled with CDs, to try and DJ with CDs. Hated every second of it.
Now, you're big on Motown, aren't you?
Yes, love it.
Nothing too obscure. What do you fancy for a Motown track? Let's hear a Motown track.
Something from Motown, something that everybody would know, but not really obscure £1,000 thing. Little Darling, Marvin Gaye.
Lovely. Yeah. Little Darling by Marvin Gaye. A reminder that you're listening to the afternoon show with me, John Holmes, here on BBC Radio Nottingham. And I'm an independent pressing company on Industrial Estate in Nottingham on Little Tennis Street. And I'm with Chris King and Jonathan. I didn't get your surname.
Surname's Woodliffe.
And you're both DJs, but the thing is, you're pressing vinyl. What is this where you make... What happens in here?
Yeah, this is where we cut the masters. When an artist goes into a recording studio, they make the song, and it comes out of there normally on tape, and then from tape, obviously, it needs to be transferred to metal plates, which we stamp records out with. So we have to cut them onto lacquer, what's a 14-inch lacquer, and we cut the grooves in through electronic equipment and mixing desks and consoles, and we cut the grooves into the lacquer. The lacquer is then transferred into an electroplating tank, and through electroplating we generate a master, and from the master we generate a safety master, and then we grow stampers, and we can keep going back to the safety master and growing more stampers. The stampers go on the top and bottom of the press. A puck the size of a biscuit, but about half an inch thick, comes out of the machine. It goes between 2 plates, and the machine closes at 140 tons pressure per square inch.
And that's what was happening in that room?
That's what squashes the records. The records are then trimmed and bagged, shipped out and into the shops.
So where you've got a studio here?
This is the studio, this is the cutting lathe, this is the Neumann cutting lathe from about 1978. Not made anymore, very, very hard to find. Very, very hard to get repaired if you blow them up, and you can blow them up by having the wrong frequencies going through to the cutter head.
Oh, goodness.
And it's very elaborate. That's a Neve console, one of only 6 ever made. They were commissioned by Sony Music in America, and I managed to pick one of them up from a guy called Denny Purcell, very, very famous gentleman in Nashville, Tennessee, and that was his own personal console that he managed to wheedle out of Sony, because he was doing all the mastering for Sony years and years ago. And Denny let me have that when he decided he wasn't going to cut any more vinyl.
It's been quite an adventure for you, hasn't it?
It's been great. It's been great. I've never worked so hard in my life, though. I mean, in the first few years, I was doing 18, 20 hours a day, virtually every day. You know, 1 minute I could be having meetings with Sony or Virgin, and like an hour later I was on the floor on my hands and knees, with a spanner trying to work out why a machine was going back to front and not throwing records out. So, but it's been great. I've only ever been involved in music. Even going back to school, I was resident DJ at Nottingham Pally in 1971, and I I was in my last year at school, and I worked there on a Friday and Saturday night, and I wasn't actually old enough to have a drink. Mick Knight would only let me have soft drinks.
Good old Mick, quite right as well.
Yeah, I believe he's retired.
He's just retired, yeah.
Unbelievable. I mean,
Best wishes to you,
when he started, he actually used to have those two little dogs by the side of the speakers. You know, the RCA type thing. He used to have to wind them up. That's what people tell me.
Now, I'll tell you what we'll do. Let's just quickly go back into the pressing plant, because I came here because it was a bit quieter. I want to see that. We'll have a quick look at the this puck coming down.
Okay.
And then we'll see the finished product. And then can I play the finished product?
Yes, you can.
Come on, let's go through. Come on. Because there's obviously there's a lot more offices here. Thanks, Jonathan. So where do we go now? Through
Okay.
Here. Yep.
I'll take you this way round, and I'll just show you the library where we hold the master stampers.
Right. My goodness. You've got
hundreds of thousands.
You've got more records than we've got at Radio Derby. And more CDs, more than... Mate, it's racks and racks.
And these are all the masters. And as you can see, these are made out of metal. They've got the grooves, and the grooves protrude outwards.
Right.
So that when it presses into the plastic, it presses the grooves
negative and positive.
Oh, absolutely.
Just noticed something else. One thing that we used to do, and things was certainly when I got bored DJing and some weddings or things, people used to write things on the playout. Do you still do that?
Yeah, they ask us to do that all the time.
Yeah.
Little messages to the friends, and not so many nice messages, from football fans to other football fans.
Is that right?
Yeah, a lot of people. There's a lot of history in the grooves.
Yeah. If you've got any records at home, always look on the playout groove, because there could be something written there, little messages. Oh goodness, that's huge. I didn't realise you got so many. Right. Right, so we're going back into the pressing plant. Ian's there. So.
Okay, we're standing next to a 2Lex Alpha 1202 press. This is the Rolls-Royce of record pressers. Made in the 70s through to the 80s. We have an extruder which extrudes the pellets which have been melted. It forms a puck which is about 4 inches diameter and about ½ inch thick. The puck goes into the middle of the press. An arm picks up an up label and a down label, which is an A and a B. As you can see, the press is now closed. That is 140 tons per square inch of pressure. Heat is generated through steam through the moulds to melt the plastic to help it flow. Then cold water is injected. The record's now coming out. The label is in the centre. Yeah. We're now trimming off the excess.